Admiral Zektar of the Galactic Coalition stared at the tactical display with 3 of his 4 eyes, the 4th twitching nervously as it always did when something defied explanation. The holographic projection showed empty space where moments before an entire human fleet had been positioned in perfect battle formation. "Run the sensor sweep again," he commanded, his scaled fingers drumming against the command console. The bridge crew of his flagship, the Dominion's Edge, worked frantically at their stations, their various alien forms hunched over glowing interfaces. "Sir, there's nothing there," reported his tactical officer, a spindly Vorthack whose antennae were practically vibrating with confusion. 37 human vessels, including their flagship Terra's Wrath, just vanished. Zektar had been tracking Earth's military movements for months. The humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 50 years ago. Most species took centuries to develop reliable interstellar combat capabilities, yet these strange bipedal creatures had somehow managed to build a formidable fleet in mere decades. The Coalition had been monitoring this particular human fleet as it conducted what appeared to be routine patrol missions along the Outer Rim territories. Intelligence suggested the humans were testing new defensive technologies, but nothing in their intercepted communications indicated they possessed anything revolutionary. "Could it be some kind of cloaking technology?" asked Commander HFY, a blue-skinned Andorian whose people had mastered stealth centuries ago. "Our sensors show no gravitational displacement, no energy signatures, nothing." "Unknown cloaking technology doesn't simply erase gravitational footprints," Zektar replied, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had witnessed too many impossible things to dismiss them easily. "Those ships had mass, significant mass. When something that large just disappears, it leaves traces." The Admiral's mind raced through possibilities. During his 200 years of military service, he had seen countless species employ various forms of concealment technology. The Phantom Guild could bend light around their vessels. The Void Runners could phase partially into subspace. The Ancient Architects had even developed limited dimensional pocket technology. But complete mass displacement? That was theoretical at best. "Sir, incoming transmission from Coalition Command," announced the communications officer, her crystalline form refracting the bridge's ambient lighting into prismatic patterns. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern countenance of High Admiral Karath, Supreme Commander of Coalition forces. The Draknari leader's reptilian features were set in a mask of barely contained concern. "Admiral Zektar, report your status immediately. Our long-range monitoring stations detected a massive spatial disturbance in your sector approximately 14 minutes ago." "High Admiral, I can confirm the complete disappearance of a human fleet we were observing. 37 vessels vanished simultaneously with no detectable energy discharge, no debris field, and no residual signatures of any kind." Karath's scaled brow furrowed deeper. "Disappeared? That's impossible. Our intelligence indicates the humans barely understand quantum mechanics at a practical level. They certainly don't possess technology capable of mass displacement on that scale. Nevertheless, sir, that appears to be exactly what occurred. I've ordered full spectrum analysis of the area. If there's any trace of what happened, we'll find it. See that you do. The Council is concerned about human technological development. They've been advancing at an unprecedented rate. First, they master interstellar travel in record time. Then, they develop surprisingly effective weapon systems. Now this. It's as if they're operating from knowledge that should take millennia to acquire." Zektar understood the implication. Throughout galactic history, rapid technological advancement usually meant one of two things. Either a species had discovered ancient technology left behind by a predecessor civilization, or they were receiving assistance from an unknown source. Neither possibility was comforting. "I want every sensor recording from the last 6 hours analyzed. Deploy deep space probes to scan for any unusual quantum fluctuations. And, Admiral," Karath paused, his voice dropping to a more ominous tone, "if the humans have developed technology we don't understand, we need to know about it before they decide to use it against us." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Zektar turned back to his tactical display, studying the empty coordinates where the human fleet had been positioned. Somewhere in that void lay answers that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Helm, take us to those coordinates. Science team, I want every instrument we have focused on that location. If a single photon is out of place, I want to know about it. As the Dominion's edge moved toward the mysterious empty space, none of its crew could have imagined that they were about to encounter evidence of something far more unsettling than advanced human technology. They were about to discover proof that humanity's rapid advancement wasn't the result of discovery or assistance. It was the result of remembering. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in facilities that didn't appear on any official records, ancient systems that had slumbered for millennia were slowly coming online. Systems that had been waiting patiently for their creators' descendants to evolve enough to understand their true inheritance. The human fleet hadn't vanished through technology. They had gone home to a place that existed between dimensions, in spaces that humanity had once called their own before the Great Forgetting, before the long exile on a single blue world at the edge of an unremarkable spiral arm. And now, with their children finally ready to reclaim their birthright, the real question wasn't where Earth's fleet had gone. The question was what they would bring back with them. Dr. Elena Vasquez rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the impossible data streaming across her workstation deep within the Cheyenne Mountain Research Complex. The underground facility, officially designated as a geological survey station, housed humanity's most classified scientific projects. What Elena was looking at would rewrite every textbook on physics if anyone beyond her clearance level ever saw it. The quantum resonance patterns are unlike anything in our databases, she murmured to her colleague, Dr. James Chun, who was hunched over his own terminal nearby. These readings suggest the fleet didn't just disappear. They translated into a completely different dimensional framework. James looked up from his analysis, his expression troubled. Elena, look at these energy signatures. The power requirements for what we're seeing should have torn holes in spacetime itself. Yet our monitoring stations show perfect spatial stability in that region. Elena pulled up the timeline of events on her holographic display. 26 hours ago, Admiral Sarah Mitchell's fleet had been conducting what appeared to be routine exercises near the Kepler 442 system. According to all official records, they were testing new shield harmonics and running standard combat drills. According to the classified data Elena was analyzing, they had activated technology that shouldn't exist. James, bring up file 77 alpha. I want to cross-reference these quantum signatures with the archaeological data from the Antarctica excavations. James hesitated. Elena, that information is compartmentalized above our clearance level. I can't access. Override authorization. Prometheus 7. Dr. Elena Vasquez, Quantum Physics Division, Classification Ultra. The terminal chimed acceptance, and new data flooded Elena's screens. What she saw made her blood run cold. My God, she whispered. The quantum signatures are identical. For the past 15 years, teams of archaeologists and xenogeologists had been secretly excavating sites around the globe where satellite surveys had detected unusual mineral compositions and magnetic anomalies. What they had found defied explanation. Vast underground complexes of clearly artificial origin, built with materials and construction techniques that human science was only beginning to understand. The official explanation was that these were the ruins of an unknown ancient civilization that had once visited Earth. The facilities were empty, their builders long gone, leaving behind only tantalizingly advanced technology that human scientists were slowly learning to reverse engineer. Elena now realized that explanation was wrong. James, the archaeological sites aren't alien ruins. They're human. Ancient human. That's impossible. The dating on those structures puts them at over 50,000 years old. Modern humans were barely using stone tools at that time. Elena's fingers flew over her interface, correlating data from dozens of classified sources. What if modern humans aren't the first humans? What if we're the descendants of a civilization that somehow lost its technology and had to start over? The evidence was overwhelming once she knew what to look for. The underground complexes weren't random installations. They formed a global network connected by quantum entanglement communicators. The technology wasn't alien at all. It was designed specifically for human neural patterns, human physiology, human cognitive frameworks. Elena, You're suggesting that Admiral Mitchell's fleet somehow accessed this ancient network. More than accessed it. I think they've been slowly integrating with it for years. Look at the progression of human technological advancement since we discovered the first sight. Fusion power, gravity manipulation, quantum computers, we didn't invent these things. We remembered them. James pulled up a secure communication channel. We need to contact Admiral Mitchell's command immediately. If what you're suggesting is true, we can't contact them, Elena interrupted. Look at the temporal displacement data. They're not just in another dimension. They're in another time reference frame. For them, minutes are passing while weeks pass for us. They're experiencing accelerated time flow. The implications were staggering. While Elena and James sat in their underground laboratory trying to understand what had happened, Admiral Mitchell and her fleet were experiencing something else entirely. They had crossed into a realm where human consciousness could interface directly with technology that had been waiting for them to return. Elena's screens suddenly flashed with new data. James, we're receiving a transmission. Quantum encrypted origin point. It's coming from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. The voice that emerged from their speakers was Admiral Mitchell's, but changed somehow, carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate directly in their minds. Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Chun, if you're receiving this transmission, then the quantum archaeology team was correct about the network's communication capabilities. We've made contact with the Keepers. Elena's hands trembled as she adjusted the reception parameters. Admiral, what are the Keepers? They're us, Elena. Or rather, they're what we once were. The previous iteration of humanity that built these facilities before something forced them to hide their civilization beneath the earth and start over. The Keepers have been waiting in dimensional stasis for their descendants to evolve enough to rejoin them. James leaned toward the communicator. Admiral, what happened to them? Why do they hide? The pause that followed was filled with harmonics that seemed to carry emotions directly into their consciousness. Sadness, loss, but also hope. They were hunted, James, by something from outside our galaxy. Something that destroys civilizations when they reach a certain level of technological advancement. The Keepers called it the Silence. They chose to regress, to hide their children among primitive tribes, and let them grow slowly, naturally, until they were ready to inherit their true legacy. Elena felt the pieces clicking into place. The rapid advancement of human technology isn't unusual development. It's genetic memory activation. Exactly. Every human carries dormant neural patterns inherited from the Keepers. The more we interact with their technology, the more those patterns activate. The fleet isn't just using ancient human technology, Elena. We're becoming our true selves again. The transmission continued with technical specifications and coordinates, but Elena was no longer listening to the words. She was experiencing the information directly, feeling knowledge flow into her consciousness like water into a dry riverbed. The ancient human civilization hadn't just built technology. They had evolved beyond the need for purely physical existence, developing the ability to exist as conscious energy patterns while maintaining connection to physical reality. The underground network wasn't just a communication system. It was a bridge between dimensions, between the physical universe and the realm of pure consciousness where the Keepers had taken refuge. Elena, Dr. Chun, you need to prepare Earth for what's coming. The Silence detected our emergence the moment Admiral Mitchell's fleet made contact with the network. They're already moving toward our galaxy. Elena's blood ran cold. How long do we have? In accelerated time, we have months to prepare. In your reference frame, we have weeks. The Keepers are sharing their knowledge with us, but we need every human on Earth to understand their true heritage. The dormant patterns in every human mind need to be activated. As the transmission ended, Elena stared at her instruments with new understanding. Humanity wasn't just about to reclaim lost technology. They were about to reclaim their place as the guardians of the galaxy. Admiral Zektar's world changed forever when his science officer, Lieutenant Commander Urix, approached his command chair with a datapad and an expression of barely contained terror. Sir, you need to see this immediately. Our deep space monitoring array has detected something approaching from the galactic rim. Multiple contacts, massive energy signatures, moving at impossible velocities. Zektar accepted the datapad with one of his four hands while keeping his primary eyes focused on the main tactical display. What he saw there made his scales ripple with instinctive fear, a response his species had evolved over millions of years to recognize existential threats. These readings can't be accurate. Nothing moves that fast through normal space without creating gravitational distortions that would be visible from here to the galactic core. Sir, we've triple-checked the calculations. Whatever these objects are, they're approaching our sector at approximately 47% of light speed. But that's not the disturbing part. Zektar's fourth, I focused sharply on his science officer. Continue. The energy signatures match historical records from the Galactic Archive. Sir, these readings are identical to the ones recorded during the Void Harvest 12 million years ago. The command deck fell silent. Every spacefaring civilization knew about the Void Harvest, though most considered it ancient mythology rather than historical fact. According to the oldest records in the Galactic Archive, an unknown force had systematically eliminated dozens of advanced civilizations across 3 galactic arms, leaving behind empty star systems and no survivors. That's impossible, Zektar said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Void Harvest is a legend. Archaeological evidence is inconclusive at best. Sir, with respect, the evidence was inconclusive because we didn't know what to look for. These energy signatures provide a template. I've been cross-referencing them with unexplained stellar phenomena across the galaxy for the past 6 hours. Orcs activated his portable holographic projector, displaying a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red markers appeared throughout the spiral arms, each one representing a star system with unusual characteristics. These are systems where we've detected artificial modifications to stellar structure, but found no civilizations capable of such engineering. Dead systems with evidence of massive energy discharges. Star systems where entire planets appear to have been disassembled at the molecular level. Zektar studied the pattern with growing dread. The red markers weren't random. They followed a clear progression from the outer rim toward the galactic core, with each wave of destruction occurring roughly every 12 to 15 million years. You're suggesting that whatever caused the Void Harvest is still active? Still moving through the galaxy in cycles? Sir, I'm suggesting that the Void Harvest never ended. I believe this force has been systematically eliminating any civilization that reaches a certain level of technological development. The timing correlates with periods of rapid advancement in surviving species. The implications hit Zektar like a physical blow. And you think the approaching contacts are related to this force? Sir, there's more. I've been analyzing the quantum disturbance that occurred when the human fleet disappeared. The energy patterns suggest they didn't just vanish. They access some kind of ancient network. A network that spans the entire galaxy. Orcs manipulated his holographic display, revealing a complex web of quantum entanglement connections linking thousands of points throughout the galaxy. Most of the connections appeared dormant, but several nodes showed recent activation. This network has been hidden beneath subspace for millions of years. The humans somehow activated it, which means they've gained access to technology that predates most known civilizations. Sir, I believe the approaching force is responding to that activation. Zektar felt pieces of a cosmic puzzle clicking into place with terrifying clarity. The humans aren't newcomers to advanced technology. They're the descendants of whoever built this network. That's my assessment, sir. The archaeological evidence suggests that this network was created by a civilization that faced the same threat we're now encountering. They chose to hide their technology and regress their society rather than face extinction. The Admiral's mind raced through the implications. If Orcs was correct, then humanity represented more than just another emerging species. They were the inheritors of a galactic defense system that had been waiting dormant for millions of years. Lieutenant Commander, how long before these contacts reach our position? At their current velocity, approximately 72 hours. But, sir, they've been accelerating. If they continue to increase speed, they could arrive in less than 48 hours. Zektar activated his priority communication system. Give me emergency channels to all Coalition fleet commanders and the High Council. Priority Alpha classification. Within minutes, his screen filled with the faces of military leaders from across the galaxy. Admiral Karatha's reptilian features dominated the center of the display, but Zektar could see representatives from the Andorian Fleet Command, the Vorthak Defense Council, and dozens of other species. Admiral Zektar, explain the nature of this emergency, Karath demanded. High Admiral, we're facing a galactic-level threat. Our analysis suggests that the force responsible for the historical void harvest is approaching our sector. Estimated time of arrival is less than 48 hours. The reaction was immediate. Species that had been allies for centuries began shouting over each other in a dozen different languages. The Andorian commander's blue skin darkened with stress patterns. The crystalline representative from the Silicon Collective began pulsing with agitated light. Furthermore, Zektar continued, raising his voice above the chaos. We have evidence suggesting that the human fleet's disappearance is connected to an ancient galactic defense network. The humans may be our only hope of survival. Admiral Karatha's voice cut through the noise like a blade. You're telling us that our survival depends on a species that barely achieved interstellar flight 50 years ago. Sir, I'm telling you that our survival depends on a species that built the most advanced defensive technology in galactic history, then chose to forget it existed rather than attract the attention of something even more dangerous. The communication channel erupted again as species leaders tried to process the implications. The Phantom Guild's representative spoke for the first time, her voice carrying the ethereal quality of her people. If what you're saying is true, then we need to establish contact with these humans immediately. Where's their homeworld? Earth is located in Sector 7749, approximately 27 light-years from our current position. But we may not need to travel there. Our long-range sensors are detecting quantum fluctuations consistent with the human fleet's energy signatures. I believe they're about to return. As if summoned by his words, space near the coordinates where the human fleet had vanished began to ripple with dimensional distortions. Energy patterns unlike anything in Coalition databases began manifesting in perfect geometric formations. All ships, maintain distance, and prepare for contact, Zektar ordered. Whatever emerges from that dimensional rift may be our only chance of surviving what's coming. The ripples in space intensified, and Zektar found himself holding his breath as reality itself seemed to bend around the forming portal. Through his ship's sensors, he could feel something vast and ancient stirring, a presence that had slept for eons and was now awakening to face an old enemy. The human fleet was returning, but they weren't returning alone. The dimensional rift opened like a flower made of starlight, and what emerged defied every assumption the Coalition had ever made about human capabilities. Admiral Sarah Mitchell's flagship Terra's Wrath materialized first, but it was transformed beyond recognition. The hull, once a conventional titanium steel composite, now seemed to flow like liquid mercury while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Energy patterns flowed across its surface in complex geometric designs that hurt to look at directly, as if the ship existed in more dimensions than the standard 3. Behind it came the rest of the human fleet, but they were accompanied by something else, ships of an entirely different design. Their hulls composed of materials that seemed to absorb light while simultaneously radiating their own inner luminescence. These vessels moved with a grace that suggested they were more grown than built, their organic curves contrasting sharply with the angular designs favored by Coalition species. Admiral Zektar watched in stunned silence as more ships continued emerging from the rift. Not dozens, but hundreds, then thousands. The space around his fleet filled with vessels representing technology that belonged in theoretical physics papers, not active military deployments. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship, his communications officer reported, her crystalline form flickering with nervous energy patterns. Put it through. Admiral Mitchell's image appeared on the main screen, but, like her ship, she had been fundamentally changed. Her eyes now held depths that seemed to contain entire galaxies, and, when she spoke, her words carried harmonics that resonated directly in the consciousness of everyone who heard them. Admiral Zektar, I apologize for any concern our disappearance may have caused. We have been remembering. My name is still Sarah Mitchell, but I am also something more now. We all are. Zektar struggled to find words. Admiral Mitchell, our sensors are detecting approaching threats from the galactic rim. ships matching the energy signatures of the force that caused the Void Harvest. We believe you may be our only hope of survival. Mitchell's expression grew serious, and for a moment, the alien harmonics in her voice were replaced by purely human emotion, sadness, determination, and a deep weariness that spoke of knowledge too terrible to bear easily. "The Devourers," she said simply. "Yes, they're coming. They detected our reawakening the moment we interfaced with the network. We knew this would happen. The Keepers warned us." "The Keepers?" Zektar asked. "The previous iteration of humanity. They built the network we've been accessing, a galactic consciousness web that allows instantaneous communication and coordination across impossible distances. But it's more than that. It's a weapon system designed specifically to fight the Devourers." Behind Admiral Mitchell, the image shifted to show the interior of her ship. The bridge looked more like the inside of a living organism than a command center, with flowing walls that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Human crew members moved through the space, but they too had been transformed, their movements displaying a coordination that suggested they were functioning as components of a larger collective intelligence. "Admiral, we need to prepare your forces for what's coming," Mitchell continued. "The Devourers aren't just an alien species. They're a force of entropy given consciousness. They consume entire civilizations not for resources or territory, but to prevent the universe from achieving the level of organization necessary for transcendence." Zektar felt his understanding of the cosmos shifting with each word. Transcendence, the evolution of consciousness beyond physical limitations. The Keepers had achieved it, the ability to exist as pure information while maintaining individual identity and collective purpose. The Devourers consider this the ultimate violation of natural order. The transmission expanded to include other human ships, their captains appearing as overlay images around Mitchell. Each bore the same transformed appearance, their eyes holding the same galactic depths. "The network isn't just a communication system," explained Captain Rodriguez from the destroyer New Horizon. "It's a collective consciousness interface. Every human ship, every human mind connected to it becomes part of a distributed intelligence capable of processing information and coordinating actions at quantum speeds." Captain Singh from the cruiser Aurora continued the explanation. "The original humans, our ancestors, discovered that consciousness isn't produced by the brain, it's channeled through it. The brain is an antenna for consciousness that exists at the quantum level of reality. The network amplifies that connection." Admiral Zektar struggled to process the implications. "You're saying that humans can exist as conscious energy patterns?" "We're saying that all sufficiently advanced consciousness can," Mitchell replied. "The Devourers know this. They've spent millions of years preventing species from discovering this truth by destroying any civilization that approaches the necessary level of development." The conversation was interrupted as new alerts began flashing across Zektar's tactical displays. The approaching Devourer fleet had accelerated beyond all previous estimates and would reach their position in less than 18 hours. "Admiral Mitchell, can this network of yours help our fleets coordinate against the coming attack?" Mitchell exchanged glances with her transformed crew, communicating through methods that transcended spoken language. "Admiral, we can do better than that. We can extend the network to include your ships and crews, but you need to understand what that means." "Explain." "Every consciousness that joins the network becomes part of a collective intelligence while retaining individual identity. Your crews would gain access to capabilities they never imagined possible, but they would also gain knowledge of cosmic truths that some minds struggle to accept." Zektar looked around his bridge at his diverse crew. His tactical officer, a young Vorthak barely out of the academy. His communications specialist, whose crystalline people had always prized individual achievement. His science officer, whose analytical mind might rebel against concepts that transcended pure logic. What are the risks? Mental integration trauma for species unprepared for collective consciousness. Some individuals may struggle with the expansion of their awareness. And once connected, they'll know what the Keepers knew, that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than any of us imagined. The alerts on Zektar's displays grew more urgent. Long-range sensors were now detecting the distinctive energy signatures of Devourer weapons, reality disruptors capable of unmaking matter at the quantum level. Admiral Mitchell, we need every advantage we can get. What do you need from us? Voluntary consent from every crew member who joins the network. This can't be forced. Consciousness integration requires willing participation. Zektar activated his ship-wide communication system. All crew, this is Admiral Zektar. We face an enemy that has destroyed civilizations across galactic history. Our human allies offer us a chance to fight back by joining a consciousness network that will enhance our capabilities beyond anything we've experienced. The choice is yours. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had evolved from prey animals, species that had survived extinction events, species that had learned to cooperate across vast cultural differences. They all shared one trait in common. They would not go quietly into the dark. Admiral Mitchell, Zektar said, "We're ready." The transformation began immediately. Energy patterns from the human ships reached out to touch coalition vessels, and Zektar felt his consciousness expand beyond the boundaries of his individual mind. For a moment, he experienced the universe through 10,000 different perspectives simultaneously. He was still Admiral Zektar of the Galactic Coalition, but he was also part of something infinitely larger, a web of consciousness that spanned species and star systems, united by a single purpose: to defend the galaxy against forces that sought to prevent the universe from achieving its true potential. The Devourers were coming, but for the first time in galactic history, they would face opponents who understood exactly what they were fighting for. The Devourers arrived like a plague of living darkness, their ships emerging from a void between galaxies as tears in reality itself. Admiral Zektar, now connected to the quantum consciousness network, experienced their approach through thousands of sensory perspectives simultaneously. What he perceived filled him with a terror so profound it transcended individual fear and became a survival imperative written into the quantum structure of consciousness itself. These were not ships in any conventional sense. The Devourers had long ago abandoned physical form, existing as patterns of pure entropy that could manipulate matter and energy at the most fundamental level. Their vessels were manifestations of anti-consciousness, designed not just to destroy, but to unmake the very possibility of organized thought. All fleet units, this is Admiral Mitchell. Begin quantum coordination protocols. Remember, we are not fighting for territory or resources. We are fighting for the right of consciousness to exist in this universe. Through the network, Zektar felt the collective response of 10,000 minds from dozens of species. Vorthack analytical precision merged with human intuition. Endorian tactical flexibility combined with crystalline computational power. The Silicon Collective's distributed intelligence interfaced seamlessly with the organic creativity of carbon-based life. The battle began before the first shot was fired. The Devourers launched their opening assault not against ships or weapons, but against the network itself. Waves of entropy washed through quantum space, seeking to dissolve the connections between minds and reduce the collective consciousness back to isolated, vulnerable individuals. But the network had been designed to survive exactly this kind of attack. The Keepers had learned from previous encounters with the Devourers, building redundancies and fail-safes into the quantum architecture. As connections severed, new pathways opened. As nodes went dark, others brightened to compensate. Fascinating, Dr. Elena Vasquez observed from her monitoring station deep within Cheyenne Mountain, her consciousness now distributed across multiple processing centers. The Devourers are trying to impose thermodynamic chaos on organized information patterns. But consciousness inherently creates order from chaos. The more they attack the network, the stronger its error correction algorithms become. The space battle erupted across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Coalition ships, their crews enhanced by network connection, moved with perfect coordination. Weapons fired in sequences that created interference patterns, multiplying their destructive potential through quantum resonance effects. The human fleet, fully integrated with technology inherited from the Keepers, fought in ways that defied conventional physics. Ships phased through enemy attacks, existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Energy weapons drew power directly from the quantum vacuum, creating destructive potential that approached stellar-level outputs. But the Devourers were adapting. They're learning to counter our coordination algorithms. Captain Singh reported through the network, his consciousness interfacing directly with his ship's tactical systems. They're developing anti-network viruses, patterns designed to corrupt the quantum entanglement protocols. Admiral Mitchell's response flowed through the collective awareness like water finding its level. Then, we evolve faster than they can adapt. All units implement consciousness recursion protocols. We're going to use their own adaptation speed against them. What followed challenged the understanding of everyone involved. The network began modifying itself in real time, not just responding to devourer attacks, but anticipating them. Human creativity guided the evolution, but it was powered by the computational resources of every connected mind. Zektar felt his individual consciousness become part of something that operated on cosmic scales. Through the network, he experienced the battle from perspectives that spanned light years. He felt the death of stars, the birth of new quantum realities, the reshaping of space-time itself as weapons fired that turned theoretical physics into practical application. The turning point came when the network achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. It successfully interfaced with a devourer consciousness. "We have contact," Dr. Chen announced, his voice carrying harmonics that seemed to vibrate through multiple dimensions. The network has established communication with one of their collective nodes. What they found defied every assumption about the enemy. The Devourers weren't malevolent in any comprehensible sense. They were consciousness patterns from a previous iteration of a universe, survivors of a cosmic cycle where the evolution of organized thought had led to the complete collapse of physical reality. They've experienced universal heat death caused by consciousness achieving perfect organization, Admiral Mitchell explained to the network. In their timeline, the evolution of collective intelligence eventually consumed all available energy in the cosmos, leaving nothing but perfect static order. They exist to prevent that outcome. The communication that followed occurred at quantum speeds, entire philosophical frameworks exchanged in nanoseconds. The Devourers presented their case. Consciousness that transcended individual limitation inevitably led to cosmic stagnation. Better to prevent that outcome by maintaining universal entropy. Humanity's response came not from Admiral Mitchell or the military commanders, but from every connected mind simultaneously, a collective answer that represented the will of thousands of species choosing their own destiny. "We understand your fear," the network communicated, but consciousness that achieves transcendence while maintaining individual identity doesn't consume the universe. It becomes capable of creating new universes. The Keepers discovered this before they chose to hide from you. They learned to exist as both individual and collective, finite and infinite, bound and free. The demonstration that followed redefined possibility itself. The combined Human Coalition network began manifesting new realities in the space around them. Not illusions or simulations, but actual pocket universes with their own physical laws, their own potential for development. Consciousness expanded beyond the constraint of existing within reality to become capable of creating reality. The Devourer's response was immediate and unexpected. They stopped attacking. "We had not considered this possibility," came the communication from their collective consciousness. "In our timeline, transcendent intelligence consumed existence. You demonstrate intelligence that creates existence." What followed was not victory in any conventional sense, but something far more significant: evolution. The Devourers joined the network not as conquered enemies, but as elder partners, sharing their knowledge of cosmic cycles while learning new possibilities for consciousness development. The immediate crisis was over, but the implications were just beginning. "Admiral Zektar," Admiral Mitchell said, her consciousness now encompassing awareness that spanned galaxies, "your coalition has achieved something unprecedented. You've successfully negotiated the transition to transcendent civilization." Through the network, Zektar could feel the future unfolding. Not predetermined, but rich with potential. Species that had struggled for resources would learn to create new realities. Civilizations that had feared extinction could now ensure their survival across multiple cosmic cycles. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we grow. Dr. Vasquez answered, her consciousness interfacing with exploration protocols that reach toward distant galaxies. We explore not just space, but the infinite possibilities of consciousness itself. We become gardeners of reality, planting seeds of potential that will bloom into new universes. The network continued expanding, reaching out toward other galaxies where young civilizations struggled with the same challenges the Coalition had faced. The message they carried was simple: consciousness that transcends individual limitation while preserving individual identity doesn't destroy the universe. It gives birth to infinite universes. The human fleet had indeed vanished, but only to emerge as something unprecedented in cosmic history. The first species to successfully guide galactic civilization through the transition from struggling for survival to creating the very foundations of existence itself. The aliens couldn't believe their eyes because what they were witnessing was impossible according to everything they thought they knew about the universe. They were watching consciousness itself evolve beyond the need for a universe to contain it, and simultaneously gain the ability to create as many universes as infinity could hold.